Maak ruimte voor groei door uw boekhouding uit te besteden. Boekhoudadvies op maat. Gespecialiseerd in het MKB en ZZP. Transparant in de prijzen. Samen groeien naar een groter succes. Dan ben je bij ABCD kantoor aan het juiste adres. Neem vandaag nog contact op. Elbonien, het islamitische mediaplatform voor het hele gezin. Met opvoedkundige en educatieve inhoud. Met onder andere Ramadan specials, live kanalen en Arabisch leren. Geniet van veilige en gefilterde content. Beschikbaar op alle apparaten. In 3 talen. Probeer het nu gratis op www.elbonien.tv.
So I'm looking at the sun rising over the Arabian Sea and something in my heart just changed. Like right there. Can't explain it. Can't describe it, can't use words.
You were at the balcony of your hotel room?
My hotel. Just looking at, I felt like I had something I didn't want to lose. I'm feeling something.
De leukste islamitische webshop van Europa. Voor 23,59 € besteld is morgen in huis. Voor Ramadan en eetdecoratie, islamitische boeken, cadeaus, spellen en nog veel meer ga je naar www.hadithshop.nl.
Wij van Euroflex zijn op zoek naar vrachtwagenchauffeurs met C- en CE-rijbewijs. Euroflex heeft werk door heel het land. Ben jij gedreven en gemotiveerd? Meld je dan nu aan via info@euroflex-logistics.nl of stuur ons een appje via de WhatsApp-lijn, dan gaan we je direct helpen met werk.
Well, from bad boys to Muslims, a growing number of rap artists are leaving the bad boy hip-hop lifestyle for a more spiritual one. Among the names, Busta Rhymes, Loon, Napoleon, Castro and Raekwon. He joins me now from Saudi Arabia, where he's just finished performing an Umrah or minor religious pilgrimage. Thanks so much for joining us. You kind of look a little bit different to me today than how we've been seeing you in those pop videos. Is Loon still in there somewhere?
Nah, Loon is working his way out of my system.
Amir was vroeger in Amerika een bekende rapper. Hij schreef nummers voor Puff Daddy en heeft in meerdere samenwerkingen internationale hits gescoord onder zijn toenmalige naam Loon. Amir is nu 180 graden gedraaid en heeft zich na zijn bekering tot de islam volledig gedistanceerd van de muziekwereld. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, welkom.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kayfa halak?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Welcome to the Netherlands.
No, it's been a reunion.
A reunion?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
The last time was in?
2011.
Over a decade.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about how was Amir in his youth before he was an artist?
You know, I was raised by my grandparents, you know what I'm saying? My mother and father, they used to run with a guy by the name of Nicky Barnes, and he was a part of, you know, a pretty much black drug organization. And because of their commitment to the street, and then my mom falling victim to drug addiction, my grandparents raised me since I was 3 months old. Having your grandparents, that was a blessing from Allah, but it's still a part of you that yearns for your biological parents.
Yeah.
So with that being said, being in schools, and I went to some good schools, but being in schools where kids had way more structure, they had a lot of things that I didn't have, both their parents, so on and so forth. And I was always acting out. I didn't really have a voice, you know what I'm saying? So when things used to come to me as a child, I would act out more physically and more aggressively. So academically, I was excellent. I was an A student, you know, but I just fought a lot, you know what I'm saying? I had a lot of fights.
Can you tell us something about when you hit puberty, when the music came?
Well, the truth is, it never really inspired me. I was more inspired by me being a product of generations and generations of gangsters and drug dealers. So that's what I knew. So the artists, when I was growing up, they were only imitating the people that I knew.
So the artists, they were inspired by the drugs and the streets. Yeah.
And they still are to this day, you know. So to be a product of that, music didn't really inspire me in regards of wanting to be a part of it. It was just like everybody else. We were motivated by the actual music. But the people that were doing the music, they wasn't making no money back then. Nah, these guys wasn't rich back then, you know what I'm saying? They just had the image of being wealthy. Big rope chains and stuff like that. But all the guys I grew up in my neighborhood, they had 4, 5, 6 of those chains, 7 of those cars. You know, so it's like looking at the rappers back then, it wasn't as inspiring as it was when I became an artist in the generations you see today.
The drug leaders, and they were more high value than the artists at that time?
Way more. You talking about an epidemic that grossed billions and billions of dollars in the 80s, you know, and every minority community throughout the whole United States. The way the drug game was when I was young, it was ran like a Fortune 500 company, you know what I'm saying? It was always something to do. Nobody was looking for jobs at McDonald's. Like I could just stand on the corner at 8 years old for an 8-hour shift looking out for the police and get $100 a night. Or I could just like, you know, carry a gun for an older guy, just walk around with him all day so that he don't get caught with the gun.
Okay,
but
so
if I get caught, I'm a juvenile, I could come straight home. So these little odd jobs
they paid
were the
more.
things that we were doing as kids.
And
so we wasn't
they
really,
paid off good?
I mean, if you look at an 8-year-old kid back in the 80s making $100 a night.
That's a lot of money.
You know what I'm saying? Just being in the same place you're going to be anyway.
Yeah.
I'm on the block where I live.
Who gave you the access to the music? Because you were hustling, you were selling, you were...
I was a good writer. I used to write poems, or first actually started with a diary.
Really?
Because in the streets, you know, when you're going through certain things, you can't express certain things that are impacting you because it could be perceived as a weakness. So the way I was able to express it was to just write it down. And I learned that from going to therapy. Because see, I was so bad in school that I couldn't go to public school unless I was seeing a therapist. I developed a voice through therapy.
But therapy and by writing?
By writing, because having that therapist twice a week for 4 years taught me how to articulate things instead of just acting.
Yeah.
So through those exercises and stuff I used to do with my therapist, once that was complete, I took that same regimen and used it whenever I was, I encountered certain things in the street, and I would just write down, what impacted me so I could get over it. And that's just what it was. So, I started off writing, and writing for other people is what propelled me into establishing a relationship with Puff.
Yeah.
I had wrote songs for P. Diddy before I became an artist at Bad Boy.
So now we're going on a big U-turn. And how did Islam came in your life?
Well, Islam came by way of Allah's guidance. And I wasn't looking for Islam. Nobody introduced me to Islam. Nobody invited me to no conferences or talks where Islam was being taught. And no one never gave me no books on Islam.
Was there a big Islamic community in the 80s, 90s at that point in New York?
It probably was, but I didn't identify with them because I wasn't in the same circles. Oh. See, the thing is, whatever you into, you're going to find your circle. And once you find your circle, everything else becomes obsolete. Yeah. So I didn't really start noticing how vast the Muslims were until I became Muslim. It's amazing because like in New York growing up, if I was outside of Harlem, it'd be very difficult for me to get a cab. But when I became Muslim, I'm walking around at the Thobe, it's like taxis, because most of the cab drivers was Muslim.
Were Muslim,
so they would see me and, Assalamu alaikum, come.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. I couldn't get a taxi before when I was just a black kid, wearing like, street clothes or whatever.
Were they a little bit afraid of?
Well, yeah, I mean, we did pose a threat because if it was outside of our neighborhood, any taxi services in Midtown Manhattan, the yellow cabs, so to say, they wasn't messing with us because they know that when we get in the cab, we ask them to take them to a neighborhood they don't want to go to. So they rather stay with the tourists.
Yes, yeah. From Queens to Manhattan or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So now me walking around Manhattan with a Thobe on, I remember a taxi driver cut all the way from the far left lane all the way to the right. Almost had an accident just to, Assalamu alaikum, brother, get in.
Come, get in, yeah.
Yeah, then he didn't want my money. He was like, no. I said, huh?
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, like I couldn't get a taxi before. I traveled the world and I kept running into Islam.
At certain points, randomly or?
No, yeah, randomly.
Randomly.
Because I was going to these places to perform. I was going to these places to have parties. I was going there to do all of the things that I was doing prior to Islam. Yeah. Drinking, smoking, fornicating. It was everywhere I went. That's what I expected. Synagogue was the first place it impacted me. You know, I visit a place called Goree Island, learned about the slaves there, learned that they were Muslim. So now that impacted me because I'm like, man, we in America dying for the color of our skin. These people here, they died for God. And then I went to Russia, to Kazakhstan. I didn't even know Muslims looked Oriental, descendants of Mongolians and such.
Yeah.
So I was used to seeing Yemeni, Pakistani,
Arabs.
West African, you know what I'm saying? So then when I went to Kazakhstan, you know, like I said, I was approached by, you know, some friends that I knew. There were some powerful Russian guys, and they set up a tour for me and another artist from Bad Boy named Mario Juanes. We went to Kazakhstan to be guests of the president of Kazakhstan. One of the experiences I had at the end of the tour, you know, I was in the backstage like smoking, and you know, the president guy came in and was just like, I'm smoking. I'm like, yo,
The president of Kazakhstan?
Yeah. So I'm smoking. I'm like, yo, let me ask you a question. Like when you see somebody, right? Like how you say what's up? And he looking at me like, Salam alaikum. So I'm like, no, that's what the Muslims say. No, because these guys, they look Oriental.
Yeah.
So I was confused.
They look Asian.
Yeah, because in New York, you know, they're Asian. It's Middle Eastern Asia.
Yeah.
But at the time, even being a New Yorker, we're very ignorant to, you know, geographic, you know, locations. So to me, anybody Asian, I look like Bruce Lee. You know?
Chinese.
Yeah. So with that being said, I experienced a certain level of diversity I never experienced in the States, as I only knew a very limited demographic of Muslims. So that experience right there, once again, bang, hit me. I never forgot it, but I had to go on, tour going.
Yeah.
So when I finally got invited to the UAE, I seen a whole different depiction of the Arabs, because you know, mainstream media versus what I already was accustomed to in New York.
Yeah.
It was never a depiction of Arabs having wealth and prosperity. So when I get there and I see this is a beautiful place, they got palm trees, these guys walking around, everybody smells, you know, extremely good but different. Like I don't smell no Versace, no Creed, none of that stuff. I'm just smelling smells I've never smelled before.
Oud.
Yeah, so like I don't know nothing about none of this stuff. Then I'm looking at what they driving. I'm like, subhanallah. It was a whole different thing. So after I performed that night in Dubai, you know, once again, may Allah forgive the Muslims there. When I went there, I went to do what I do. Smoke, drink, fornicate, whatever the case may be. So now we travel to Abu Dhabi, because I'm scheduled to perform in Abu Dhabi. I remember Alicia Keys was there too. So when I got to the hotel in Abu Dhabi, I remember like going to my room and you know, opened up the doors of the balcony and the sun was rising. And it was something I hadn't paid attention to in a very long time in my life. So I'm looking at the sun rising over the Arabian Sea, and something in my heart just changed. Like right there. Can't explain it, can't describe it, can't use words.
You were at the balcony of your hotel room?
My hotel, just looking at, but at this moment, I'm standing face to face with one of the greatest creations, you know what I'm saying, that Allah ever created, was the sun and the moon, you know? So at that moment, something changed. And I ran down to the basement, the lobby of the hotel. First Muslim I found. I said, yo, I want to be Muslim. He was just startled, you know, because you don't normally have non-Muslims run up on you, tell me, yo, I want to be Muslim.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like I had something I didn't want to lose. I'm feeling something.
You didn't want to lose that momentum.
I don't want to lose the momentum, because I know that whatever I'm feeling is definitely associated with what I experienced in Senegal, is associated with what I experienced in Kazakhstan, and right now in this moment, in this country, surrounded by Muslims, I know now that's what it is.
At that point, you encountered some things that led you to Islam in Senegal and Kazakhstan. But did you, before, when you were in the States, have you ever talked to a Muslim or something in your family? Or
abandoned their obligation to invite us to Islam. What I experienced in New York City is nothing but people who were tajir. They were just businessmen. The Yemenis, they seen what was going on in front of their stores.
Yeah.
We having shootouts, we selling drugs. None of them said, listen, man, y'all need to put the drugs down. You need to become Muslim. Yeah, nobody said that to us. Pakistanis that own the pharmacy,
Yeah.
we come in there, we get prescription drugs. None of them ever say, you know, y'all guys need, no one.
But I was in 2014 or 15. I was in New York, but then I met a lot of black Muslims.
Oh, yeah.
Did that change?
Well, that is probably when you keep hearing about the fastest growing religion in the world.
Yes.
Is because you have a lot of disproportionate, disenfranchised African Americans or blacks, period, around the world. Same thing in United Kingdom, everywhere around the world. Germany, I don't care, wherever there's black people, we're starting to learn that the history that we were taught, you know, is not all the way accurate. And many of us is learning that our purpose in life is not to continue fighting, arguing about the color of our skin.
No.
That's not our purpose. We learning now that our purpose is to worship the one that created us. So now what you have is an influx of African Americans who've been lost.
I met a lot of them.
Misled, yeah. And you know, we accepting Islam. You know, Sunni Islam, or the authentic methodology of Islam, it entered America, you know, way before like Malcolm X. It just was scarce, you know, because you had at the time a lot of black nationalist movements.
Yeah, Black
you know,
Panthers and
exactly, the Panthers, Bloods, Crips, Nation of Islam, whatever, Fruit of Islam. All of these things is because, like I said, we were so ignorant and, like I said, disproportionate, disenfranchised, that we look for anything that would give us a sense of purpose. Anything that we would be able to forge a certain level of unity that would bring us together as a people to tackle all of the things that was in opposition of us as a people. Yeah, exactly. So it was easy for prosperity preachers, black nationalist movements,
evangelicals,
to reach us, you know, whether they were sincere or not, because we was in such a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
You know? So Malcolm, being as influential and articulate as he was also a victim of this. You know what I'm saying? He was also a victim of this calling to black nationalism, black empowerment, black power, so on and so forth. And I believe that, you know, Allah guided him because of his sincerity.
His heart was open to the truth.
Because he wasn't a part of the corruption that was going on in that black nationalist group called the Nation of Islam. He sincerely was standing on what he was taught by them and thought that it was the right thing. But once he went to, you know, make Hajj and travel to, you know, other parts of Africa, Egypt and stuff like that, he started to learn similar to myself.
You saw the haqq.
He saw the haqq. But he saw it being practiced, you know?
Yeah.
And once you see that, it strips you of black nationalism. Because now when you sit in the most Muslim like yourself, you know, your asal is Maghribi.
Yes.
You know, you got other people from, you know, different areas of the world, and it's like, whoa, this Islam is not just our thing. I was lied to. Then you see white Muslims, it's like, oh, I was taught that these people were devils. All of them.
Yeah.
You know? Which is no different than white supremacy. It's just flipped over.
Yeah.
You know? That's why my connection to Malcolm X's story, you know, it gives me a certain sense of, you know, gratitude.
Yeah. Something to be proud of.
Something to be proud of, because here's a man, and a lot of people don't know, that when he went to make Hajj, at the time King Faisal was told or informed that he was making tawaf around the Kaaba, and he sent for him. And he offered Malcolm X asylum And a lot of people don't know this because he lived only 10 months after he made Hajj.
Yes, he could stay there.
He could have stayed. You know, the average black person would have said, oh yeah, can Betty come? Like, you know.
Because he knew he was in danger.
And the King Faisal knew.
Yeah.
Rahimahullah, he knew that he was in danger. But it shows you the virtue of Malcolm.
He was in danger for the people who don't know the history because the nation wanted to kill him.
I can't stay here, save myself and my family, and leave all of those people that I influenced, that I encouraged, and taught this construed narrative. And that's sacrifice.
SubhanAllah.
He went back knowing that he was going to die. But he went back to retract everything.
SubhanAllah.
He went back and refute the nation, refute their false narrative, their false belief system. He did African Americans a great justice. And the vast majority of them left the nation, accepted Islam.
Yes.
And then some of them remained. May Allah guide them.
The son, like Wallace, he called
he
also, the son of Elijah Muhammad, also separated from them.
Yeah, he separated from them.
He said, I want to follow Malcolm X.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's from Allah.
Yeah.
That's the wisdom of Allah.
When I was in New York, maybe it was a coincidence, I don't know, but when I spoke to African Americans, there was a clique. There was also, when they were not Muslim, I felt some warmth between us. I don't know why. So when I hear that African Americans in the States, when they convert to Islam, it makes me happy because you just need Islam. SubhanAllah.
That's it. I feel it every day. Every day. See, like, this tour that I'm on right now, because I'm so invested in the youth, because I know that the generation that we living in now, they are the hope for this ummah, you know? So you always have to go to the source, because this is what Islam teaches us. To always go to the source. Go to the Quran and Sunnah. Whenever you differ in anything, refer it back to Allah and His Messenger, right?
Yeah.
So now that we know that the youth are under attack, I try to put my focus into the youth.
Yeah.
But every time I'm around, you know, my people, I see that we have one of the most influential cultures on the planet, and that's hip hop.
It's the biggest export products of the United States.
Yeah, because you know, you Moroccan.
Yeah.
Moroccans are not trying to be Yemeni. Yemenis are not trying to be Pakistani.
No.
Everyone in the Muslim world have their own culture.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, each one of those cultures is taking a piece of my culture.
Yeah, the hip hop culture.
Exactly.
And the rap
So that's why, even though Allah forgave me, you know, I still feel personally a responsibility because I was indulged in a culture that contributed to a lot of confusion, not only amongst my own people,
worldwide,
but worldwide. You know what I'm saying?
Now we go back to that point that you were in the hotel and you didn't want to lose that momentum. You thought this is the point that Islam is now in my heart, and now I want to do something with it because I'm afraid if I don't do it now, it may be lost.
Yeah.
Can you continue from that point on?
So basically, you know, after pushing the issue, the brother finally caved in and was like, okay, you know, just you know, raise your hand, raise your index finger, and repeat after me. So when he mentioned the kalimatain, I repeated after him, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So after I repeat what he said, he just said, Khalas, you Muslim. So I was just stuck, like, no. It can't be that easy.
I want more.
It's not that easy. Even though it was.
Yeah.
But when I talk about the life that I had growing up, you know what I'm saying, meeting my biological father at 33, my mother on drugs, raised by my grandparents, fighting every day, shootout, stabbing, anything, all of this stuff, it's never been easy. This man told me that mere testimony was enough to save my soul. But I was just couldn't process the simplicity. I accepted it because I felt like something just came off. I just felt like lighter. I felt like a whole burden was removed. But as far as, you know, the detail, you know what I'm saying, description of what just took place, I couldn't fathom it. So I asked him, like, yo, we don't have to go get the outfit now? Like, you know, you don't have to put me in the water. Like, he's like, no, alhamdulillah, you're Muslim. I'm just like,
like baptizing or something.
Yeah,
just like
I'm thinking, from ignorance,
yes.
it got to be a little more. I've never been taught or experienced anything in life.
At that point, before you were agnostic, atheist,
No,
Christian?
I was a Christian.
You were a Christian?
I was a Christian.
Okay.
I was a Baptist Christian.
Baptist Christian.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And I denounced the church at a very young age because I used to find a lot of contradictions in the Bible, and I would ask questions and I would never get answers.
Yeah.
You know? And I had a very traumatic experience where I tried to help somebody because the pastor used to always say, Jesus said, come as you are. So I brought a man off the street that was, you know, homeless, whatever, bring him into the church. They took him right back out. So I was heartbroken as a kid. I'm like,
why?
Y'all not good people. This is crazy. Everybody in here dressed up all fancy, smelling all good. Y'all pretenders.
God-fearing,
yes,
good, clean, God-fearing folks.
You know, y'all pretending, you know. So I denounced the church, but I say, you know what? I always gonna believe in God. I know there's a God.
Yeah.
You know.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heeft onze broeder Amir na zijn bekering beproefd met een lange gevangenisstraf. Ik vroeg me af hoe hij die zware periode in zijn leven is doorgekomen en wat zijn geloof voor hem heeft betekend tussen die 4 muren. How many years?
I did 9 years.
9 years, subhanallah.
Yeah, I did 9 years.
That's a lot.
I was sentenced to 14. I was supposed to do 14 years. So
14.
only by the fadl of Allah, I came home in 9.
But alhamdulillah, I know it's tough to be imprisoned. You can't simplify it. But alhamdulillah, you were at that point religiously. You were at a certain point. Did it help you?
Absolutely. I mean, prison is just like the free world. If you want to get in trouble, you know how to get in trouble. If you want to stay out of trouble, you know how to stay out of trouble. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People think just the element of prison itself just means that you're gonna have problems. Nah, it's a lot of people in prison that probably did 10 years and never had one fight, one problem, you know?
Yeah.
Because he stays out of the way.
But 9 years is still heavy.
9 years, I mean, but I see when you look at it and you try to think of it mentally, it seems hard. But you know, as Muslims, we live in our heart. We don't live in our head. When you live in your heart, it's easy. You live in your head, it drives you crazy.
The audience who's now watching, can you explain to them how the Islam helped you in that 9 years of prison? How did...
The same time that we all supposed to spend reading Quran, learning the Sunnah, you don't get that kind of time when you're free. You gotta work, you gotta take care of your family. You gotta I had all the time.
Min fadlillah, dat is khair.
Yeah, I had all the time. You know, had a sijin, had a Jamia to Yusuf, akhi.
Yeah.
You know, it's the University of Yusuf, alayhi salam.
SubhanAllah.
I'm able to get closer to Allah.
Did you get closer to Allah in prison?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all you got. Nothing else. And then I was able to establish a brotherhood in prison that many find hard to establish here in the free world.
Did they allow you to give da'wah to the...
Absolutely. They can't get in the way.
No?
No, they can't get in the way.
How did the da'wah works in prison? Can you give us examples?
The thing is, in prison, everyone is pretty much at their rock bottom. So instinctive, because of our fitra, we go looking for God.
Yeah.
Period. We just look for God. So most times when people come to Islam in prison, it's because they see the Muslim. They just see how we operate. They're like, man, the Muslims are the most loved, the most respected, the most feared, the most trusted.
SubhanAllah.
You understand?
Yeah.
We're the most trusted, we're the most feared because they know that we're willing to go as far as they need to go for the sake of Allah.
Yeah.
We're the most respected because we deal with the people in a manner where we deal with them with respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we were most loved because they see the love that we have for each other.
The genuine love.
Genuine love that we have for each other. Those are real brothers.
They feel it.
They feel it. They look at the gangs, it's like they're not really, that's not real. And at any given moment, they're not ready to die for that. The Muslims is willing to die for that.
SubhanAllah.
You understand?
Yeah.
That's where the fear comes from. It's not that we threatening nobody.
No.
No, you scared because you know that if you cross the Muslim or do the Muslim unjustly, we're going to exercise our right to defend ourselves. And we're going to do it to the 10th power. We're not going to play with it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where the fear comes from. Or you touch a Muslim, you know, put your hands on a Muslim, assault a Muslim, dishonor a Muslim, take the Muslim wealth, do anything that Allah made sacred for the Muslim, they know that, okay, it's going to be a problem.
The other Muslims will help.
They know all the Muslims, even the ones that are not really practicing.
I met one guy in New York and he said, I'm Muslim too. And I said to him, did you convert in jail? And he said, he began to laugh and he said, yes, I converted in jail. So it was a hunch. It was, but
yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of people think I became Muslim in prison.
No. I know because you were there.
Well, yeah, you know, the Muslims, most of the Muslims don't.
Yeah. At the end of this conversation, I want you to tell the youth, the Islamic youth here in Holland and Belgium and my followers, can you give them a nasiha, a short nasiha?
My advice is to embrace Islam. Be the best of the people, not the rest of the people. Why imitate the rest of the people when you can imitate the best of the people?
Yeah.
And the best of the people is the Prophet ﷺ, his companions, and the virtuous generations that follow them.
Yes.
They are role models. They're the roadmap, the blueprint, the how we implement Islam. And we don't need no famous soccer player, no famous rap entertainer, actor. We don't need them.
We got the best of the best
already.
already.
The best of the best. So when people see you dressed like a Muslim, have an Islamic identity, that's how you get people's attention. But alhamdulillah, may Allah make us better. May Allah protect us from the evil of ourselves and the evil that surrounds us.
Ameen.
And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from the best of the people, and may He guide the rest of the people.
Ameen. Allahumma ameen. Amir, thank you very much.
No, thank you, man, for having me.
It was an honor to be sitting here
it's a much
with
needed
you.
reunion. We didn't get to meet the first time.
We didn't get to meet the first time, but the second time we nailed it this time.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.